and welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts, us. It's Ariel and
Raylene. Hello. I'm back home now.
Yola. All right. We've got so much to say.
Gosh.
This is a good one. This is gonna be a juicy ep. We have a lot of life updates. But we also have a big quarterly update. This is our big quarterly update episode because welcome, folks, to the fourth quarter of the quarter quell Hunger Games. Is that what we're saying? It's what it feels like.
That's what I thought you were going to say, so I'm glad you said it.
Okay, good. Yeah. We are in the last quarter of the year. And fiscally, it's a disaster. No, I'm just kidding. It's our reading goals. We only have 3 more months to accomplish our dreams.
God. Yeah.
I know.
I'm scared.
There's some scary stuff we've got to talk about.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting. And we're going to talk all about our quarterly reading. And we have like stats and stuff to go into. But before we do, we have a lot to catch you up on because our schedule for October has been kind of nutso because Raylene was here at the end of September, well, kind of mid-end of September. We pre-recorded a lot of episodes. They're now coming out like this, and now this one's sliding in between, and next week is our 5th year anniversary of the podcast, so there's a special episode for that, but it's a little back and forthy, so we haven't gotten to kind of do an update in a big while.
True.
And so that's what we're going to do today. I have quite a few things I want to update you guys on. Raylene's been doing some stuff over there. But I think first I need to...
What's going on with your face? Where's your glasses at?
I was looking for a gentle, subtle segue. I'm glad that you found that for me.
You seemed like you were struggling.
I'm not wearing glasses. What's crazier is that I'm also not wearing contacts. And yet, I can see. Yes, that's right. I've started my orthokeratology journey. Gosh. So, I talked about this a couple months ago when I started this process, and I talked about it on the podcast, and I remember there was comments where people were like, we need updates on this.
Yeah.
And so I do want to keep you guys updated on it because it's a whole song and dance. So basically, I don't mind my glasses. I want to start there. Yeah. I don't mind them. I've never hated them. Actually, that's not true. I hated them at the beginning because I was like at a new high school and I felt like a loser. And then I got glasses prescribed. I was like, it was too much for 14-year-old me and my emotions. But after like a year, I was like, okay, whatever. It's fine. Yeah. Glasses are cool. And for the last 15 years, I've been fine. But that's what I would say. I've been fine.
Oh, no.
I don't love glasses. Raylene is a glasses lover.
I love glasses.
Loves glasses, right? Dreamt about having glasses as a child.
It was my dream.
And then somehow got eye problems.
Luckily, that's something that you can make happen on purpose. It's hard to do the reverse, like what you want, but it's very easy to get glasses.
Destroy if you really your eyes. Yeah.
Read in the dark, friends. Read in the low light. That's what I did. And sit way too close to the TV.
Yeah. So I feel like neutral about them. I don't mind how I look in glasses, and they work. That's the important part. They work, right? I can see when I wear my glasses. Yeah. So, and therefore I like my glasses. And over the last few years, I found a pair that I really like, so I just keep rebuying them, and I'm neutral about it. But in my opinion, there's lots of times where wearing glasses is not good. Mm-hmm. I'll list a couple. When you want to lay on your side. Sucks.
That's the worst.
It smashes onto your face. When you're at an IMAX theater, you can't see everything because the screen's too big. When you're at a 3D movie, which I would never go to anyways, but you got to wear glasses in front of glasses, and you're like, what's going on? When it's raining and you get a lot of water on your glasses.
Yeah.
When it's hot outside and cold inside, or cold outside and hot inside, or whatever, and you walk into a building and you're like, whoo, and your glasses smoke up and you can't see for a few minutes. When you're like me and you swim a lot and you can't see when you swim. This is actually a core one for me because I love swimming and I do a lot of swimming in the lake and I can't see.
You want to hear something crazy? I swim with my glasses on sometimes.
I do too, because I'm like, I want to be able to see, but then your glasses are wet and then you have no way to clean them because you're wet. And then like I want to swim fast because I enjoy swimming quickly. So what I do is I take my glasses off and I put them in my bathing suit because bathing suits are tight. So it holds it onto my body. And then I swim like a madman. And I'm like the whole time thinking, what if I lost my glasses to the lake?
Yeah, in those cases, when I want to swim fast or when I want to do flips, that's something I like to do when I'm swimming too. I just leave them. I don't mind not being able to see when I'm swimming, but I understand that it's not the best.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times where I'm like, glasses. It is what it is. I am not a candidate for LASIK because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and you can't get LASIK if you have Ehlers-Danlos. And also, I'm like, do I want LASIK?
No, it's too scary.
So. Don't do it. You can't reverse it. And if it goes wrong, you're just screwed. And a lot of people get permanent dry eye with it. And so I'm like, oh, I don't know. Even if I was, I don't know. And then I found out about orthokeratology. So this is basically, they're hard contact lenses, rigid contact lenses that you wear at night. They are very perfectly fitted to your individual eyeball so that at night, it is forming your eye, which is a malleable object. It's forming your eye into the correct shape, the shape that it was supposed to be if you were born, like, with perfect vision. And in the morning, you take the contacts out and you can see. And then at night, you put them back in and you repeat the process for the rest of your life. So I went for the initial appointment. Everything went really well. They like measured my eyes. They ordered the lenses. This is what I updated a couple months ago. But I've been continuously told that the first week is dodgy because your eyes are starting to get used to the new system, but they're not good at it yet. And so you're not going to be able to see in the evenings very well. You might have to put your glasses back on, but they might overcorrect you and you don't know how long it'll work and all of these things. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that while Raylene's here. I don't want to do that while I'm in England. I don't want to do that. So there was all these times when I was like, this is not a good time. But finally it's October and I don't have that much going on. So I was like, I'm doing it. So I scheduled my appointment. I went in for my fitting. They put them in my eyes and they were so incredibly uncomfortable. I was like, this is a nightmare. Why did I do this? What am I messing with? I was fine. I lived a fine life before. What am I doing? You know? And they put them on. I had to do an eye exam with them on so that they could see if I could see, if they were fitting right, and take photos to make sure that they actually fit my eyes right. And then I had to practice taking them out because they're difficult to take out because they're hard contact lenses. So you don't have any give with them. And there's like techniques. That was another hellscape. And then I go home. And that night I put them in myself. Again, so uncomfortable.
Oh, no.
They don't hurt. I want to delineate that. They don't hurt. It's not painful. It's not scary. But it does feel like there's a hard piece of plastic in your eye. And so it's like uncomfortable. And all you can think about is, I want to get these out. Like you're just like, take it out. I want to not wear these.
Do you feel like you have to have your eyes closed when you have them on? Like, is it that kind of uncomfortable where it's like, I just don't want to feel.
Yes. When you close your eyes, doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Totally fine. You're totally fine. And that's why you wear them when you sleep. So it's fine, right? And so it's just like literally getting from the place you put the lenses in to your bed.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. You need to set up a station next to your bed so you can just pop them in.
Yeah. And go to sleep. But in other ways, I believe this to be possibly a hack for my insomnia. For the last 4 years, I haven't really slept. And so I have a really hard time sleeping ever since I bought the house. We can unpack that some other time. And so I'll go on my phone, which I know is bad, but it's what happens.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll like read on my e-reader for a while and then I'll like, no, give up, go to sleep. And I'll go on my phone. And I don't know. And I go on my e-reader. And I go on my phone. And it's like this torment until I finally fall asleep around 2 a.m. Anyways, so Raylene will often go to sleep before I go to sleep. Over in 4 hours before
4 hours earlier.
Tragedy.
I know. I'm like, 10 p.m. Time for bed.
But yeah, so when I put the lenses in, all I want to do is go to sleep. So I like close my eyes and I don't move. And so the last couple of nights, I've had great sleep, let me tell you.
Well, that's awesome. And you have to keep doing this for the rest of forever if you want to keep your eyes like this, right? So this could just be your new lifestyle.
I wore them the first night, and I woke up the next morning, and I took the lenses out. And no, I didn't actually. Sorry. That first day, I then had to go back to the doctor in the morning so that they could see with them in. I took an Uber.
Okay, I was like, how did you get there?
No, I took an Uber, and I was in the city, so I stayed at my brother's apartment, and I took an Uber over to the place. And that way they were able to see them after the first night to see if they're irritating my eyes in any way, to see if they're still fitting correctly, check everything. And then they took them out, and then I didn't. And this was the crazy moment. When they took them out, I had now had them in my eyes for 8-10 hours or whatever. Yeah. They took them out, and I could see everything in the room. And I couldn't believe it. After 15 years of having glasses and or wearing contacts occasionally, when you take your glasses off or you take the contacts out, you now can't see. Yeah. But this was a case where they took the contacts out, and I could now see perfectly.
Oh, that's so cool.
I could see everything, and I couldn't believe it. I was just astounded, and they were so excited by the results. It has perfectly corrected my vision. I can see 20/20 vision after the first day of wearing them.
That's crazy. I thought it would take longer for it to
So did I.
Like that.
What it will take longer to do is fix my astigmatism. So I also have astigmatism in my eyes, and it's worse in one eye than it is in the other. That they were like, that's going to take at least a week. So don't give up. Right. It's going to be wonky, and it has been. Like, it's really bizarre because everything looks really clear, but a little wonked. And that's the astigmatism. And it gets worse in the evenings because it doesn't last as long. And in the evenings, I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Your eyes are starting to spin around.
Yeah. A little bit of a circus. Kind of a vibe. But I am now, today is day 3. So Saturday was my first day of having them. Right. And it was really exciting. And then Sunday was day 2. Today, Monday, is day 3. And I will say already, the contact lenses are not as uncomfortable. I think basically my eye has started to mold to that shape now. So it's not forcing as much pressure or something, or my body's just like, oh, she's just going to keep doing this. Let's get over it.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like braces versus retainer. Like the first day was like having braces, and now you've almost skipped to the retainer stage now that your
it's kind of like that, where this is not as painful. It's not as it's not painful, but it's just not as uncomfortable. Right. And I woke up this morning, like the first day when I woke up, again, I still was like, I gotta tear these out. This is insane. Today I woke up, and I remember waking up, and my first thought was like, okay, what are my eyes doing? And I was like, oh, I'm fine. And then I opened my eyes, I was like, oh, I'm fine. Oh my God. And I just calmly walked over to the mirror and took them out, and I was like, I can see everything.
That's awesome.
It's insane. So I'll keep you all updated as the weeks now progress. In a couple of weeks, I have another appointment with the optometrist, because basically after 2 weeks, my vision should be as good as it's probably going to get. Right. And so if it's not perfect, if my astigmatism is still not corrected, they'll do little adjustments to the lenses and keep giving me better lenses to really cure everything. So I'm feeling very well taken care of.
That's awesome.
I will say.
So I have a question for you.
Please.
How do you feel about not wearing glasses?
I will say, I keep pushing my glasses up, and I just smack my face. I'm like, why do I keep feeling like there's glasses there? Yeah. Okay. This is a really good question. I think there have been little moments where I'm like, oh, wow. For example, I was running earlier for a quick minute to get to my car because it was raining. Yeah. And I got into the car, and I didn't have to worry about wiping my glasses off. And I didn't have to worry about my glasses falling off while I was running, because my glasses are a bit loose now. I need to tighten them or whatever. And they usually fall off if I do a little jog or whatever. But there was nothing. And I was like, wow.
That's freedom.
It is freedom. Raylene, it actually is freedom. It's actually just so much easier. Everything's easier. Yeah. And I didn't realize that it is a little bit of a mental load to make sure you don't scratch your glasses, to make sure you don't, that they're clean, don't touch them.
It's true. It's things that people who don't have glasses just don't have to think about. Yeah. And now you're joining those people. That's nice.
Because my vision isn't perfect yet, there's definitely a lot of time where I'm just worried. I'm like, can I see? I don't know what's going on. And so I don't think I'm not like in the paradise land yet, but I can see paradise, and I'm like enjoying, like the journey is very interesting. I also just genuinely feel like I'm part of modern science, which I know that feels silly to say, but like I'm like, this is how things happen.
I've never heard of anyone else doing this.
Yeah,
so it's
I'm like, you just try new things, and I'm like, if I stop wearing the contact lenses for a couple of days, my vision will go back to normal and I'll just keep wearing my glasses. So I love that it's not a permanent thing.
That's true. And if you want to go in waves where you're like, oh, I kind of maybe feel like wearing my glasses for a while, like you can just kind of phase back into glasses life, and then you can come back to this life.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that it's not permanent. I like that I feel like I have choice. I feel like I've not done something that like, oh my God, I might regret this in a couple. No, there's nothing to regret. It's a cool experiment. And if this, like, it functions for my lifestyle, then I get to do this cool new modern science thing. That's so cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah, so that's the journey so far. And like I said, I'll keep you updated in a couple of weeks. I was reading online, like some websites say like it can take up to a month and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give it like at least a month. And I think the optometrist gives me like 3 months period to try, because there's a lot of refittings that can happen. Right. Like we can keep shifting the prescription and stuff.
Well, that's very exciting.
There you go. All right, what about you? Give us an update. I still have some more things, and I've talked already for so long.
Yeah, well, after, like, basically, I saw you just over a week ago. It was when I left. So I came back home last Sunday, and then I got home, and well, actually, it was kind of like the couple of days leading up to that, I was like, oh my God, it's my friend Rebecca's birthday. Like, the Friday after I get home is when we're having her party. That we decided this, you know, like a month ago, whatever. And I was like, Julia, we haven't planned anything. Like, we haven't done anything at all. All we have is a theme.
You guys, for context, always plan elaborate things for each other's birthdays.
And for further context, last year for Rebecca, for this friend, we did our ginormous Stardew Valley themed party that had like all the currencies and all the different puzzles. And so we had like, that was the level of party that we didn't feel like we needed to live up to that because it was too much. We all agreed that it was maybe too much and that we shouldn't do that again. But we were like, we still want to give her a good, enjoyable party. And so we decided to do an Over the Garden Wall themed party, which was extra fun because I showed you Over the Garden Wall when I was visiting with you, and it kind of all just and for some reason I didn't even clue in at that point, like, oh, maybe I should be planning this party while we're watching it. But anyways, all that to say, when I got home, I was like, I have a lot I need to do. And so last week on Monday, luckily we didn't have to record. It was my like one day of in between to like get back to life before I have to go start going to work again. And I was like, okay, today's my day. I'm going to do everything. And so I went and like, I bought all of her presents that day. I got her a print of like, from the show, basically. It's just like a beautiful art print from the show. But I was like, I'm not going to be able to order something on Etsy for it to arrive before Friday. And so what I did was I bought a PDF off of an artist on Etsy. And then I sent it to London Drugs and got it printed. Then I went to the thrift store, got very lucky and found a frame that fit.
Oh, beautiful.
And so I like cleaned it up and framed it for her. And then I got her a bunch of other cute things. And I knit her a dishcloth that was like autumnal colors. Like I went crazy and just did a whole bunch of stuff in the week leading up to it. And then this past Friday, it was the party. So I must say it was a rousing success because there was 3 of us. It worked out perfectly. So my friend Rebecca, who's the birthday girl, we made her dress up as Wirt. And she didn't know what the party was going to be before she came. So we just said, wear a white shirt and black pants. That's all you need to know. Just come. She was like, okay. And so Julia and I are like getting everything ready before the party. I'm cooking up mashed potatoes. I'm making corn, you know, doing all that stuff. And Julia was like literally making her cloak as she was on her way over to the party. Like we were frantic. So it was like a really frantic party. And so we made her a cloak. We made her Wirt's pointy hat, which ended up being the tallest hat in the world.
Yeah, that photo was so funny.
Because like for context, he has this like red pointy hat, but it's just like it's like a Santa hat with the ball cut off is basically like the vibe in the show. But Rebecca's hat was like a meter tall. Like it was really, really tall.
It was way too
really
tall.
Pointy, really skinny because of how tall it was. And so it was just like comical. Like we just whipped it together so fast, and she came and we just like played the soundtrack all night long. We played Pin the Smile on the pumpkin. Julia had made a big pumpkin. Cute. We carved pumpkins actually, which was really fun.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So we kind of just like whipped up a party really quickly, but I feel like it was still really good. Like it was for a really last minute kind of thrown together thing. I think we nailed it, and we all had a lot of fun. Awesome. We took some really great photos. Oh, also I was the frog. I forgot to mention the rest of that story. So Julia dressed up as Greg, and I dressed up as Dr. Cucumber / George Washington / Jason Funderburger. So I was the frog, which was fun because of course I have a frog hat left over from last year's party.
That's awesome.
I just recycled everything from last year's birthday party. So anyways, it was really fun, and now I feel like happy that I can kind of relax. The only thing on the horizon now is Halloween. So I'm just looking forward to Halloween. I can kind of chillax a little bit now because it was just a frantic time traveling for a week and then having to throw all this together. I felt like just frantic, but I feel good now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I feel relaxed.
That's great.
And so I'm ready to relax.
I love that. Okay, 2 other updates I've got. I have 3 more updates to do. My God.
Yeah,
2 other ones though. One is I've been 30 for over a week now.
Yes. How are you feeling?
Great. You know what? Pretty good.
That's awesome.
I recorded a message for my Patreon, like for the Ariel Bissett Patreon, because I was talking. I talked to my patrons about some pretty deep stuff over there. I wax pretty philosophical over there. Things get a little out of control. And God bless them, they're all so nice to me. They're like, "Thank you, Ariel, for this message." Aww. And I'm like, "I'm so sorry that I made you listen to that." I love those patrons, good God. But they've been with me for a long time and through a lot of stuff. But I love making a message around my birthday to just kind of reflect on turning 30. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I had a lot of fear about turning 30. And even though I couldn't exactly put it into words, like what I was nervous about, it did have, it felt like a shadow. And now that I am 30, look, and I think I'll continue to understand this as the months go by, but I think that it was the ending of something. Yeah. And that's scary. Like it was the ending of my 20s, and I was scared of that. I liked my 20s. Like I did so many good things in my 20s, and I had so many great adventures, and I fell in love, and I had like career success, and like so lots of good things happened, and I bought my house, and I found Nova Scotia. Like all of these great things happened, and so to feel like that was an ending was coming, I think was scaring me. And also this idea of like I'm not young anymore is a scary idea. And like I know I was talking to my friend's parents last night, and he was like, "You're so young." He was like, "I had my son when I was 30." Yeah. And I was like, I know that I'm young, but I'm also not anymore though. Like I know that in the grand scheme of things, I'm younger. Yeah. I'm still a younger adult, totally. But I'm not a young adult anymore. And like an example of this for me, now that I'm 30, Sabrina Carpenter, Olivia Rodrigo, they don't feel like they're my musicians. They feel like they're the next generation's musicians. They're
younger than us for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And they have got songs that I love. I still play them, but it doesn't feel like the musicians I grew up with. Right. It's not the musicians that grew up with and went through the same. They don't know about MSN. They're too young for MSN, and that's okay, right? Yeah. But it is different to be older now and to be like, okay, like youth culture isn't about me anymore. That's scary, right? Yeah. But now that I have been 30 for like a week, time for some deep thoughts here. I've realized, this is cheesy, but I have realized that I wasn't seeing that it's also a beginning. Right. I was so caught up with like, oh, this is the ending of something, even though I couldn't have put that into words until after I crossed that threshold. But I realized now, like I was so worried about it being the ending of something. I wasn't realizing how much of a beginning it was. And that actually now I'm at the start of my 30s. And that's actually really exciting. So this thing that was kind of scaring me and was nerve-wracking, and on the day of my birthday, I was so full of emotions. Yeah. Now I'm like, wow. What am I going to do in my 30s? I've got so much time. I've got this whole decade ahead of me. What's it going to be?
Right? And now like you're going into it. Stuff. I've seen a lot of people describe it as like, it's like your 20s, but you have money. I think is like the kind of shortest way to put it into words. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, I mean, maybe not everyone has their career figured out when they turn 30, but like, you're doing great. You've got
more
good stuff
figured
cooking,
out.
you know?
Yeah, it's more figured out than it was when you turned 20.
Yeah,
right?
turning 20. Like, but we weren't scared at that time because we were still young and living with our, living at home, and there's no pressure to like do anything.
Yeah. So that is a little update on turning 30. My next update, very short one here, is the book truck era is done. And I just wanted to like formally acknowledge that and say thank you. Like I was like, I want to mention I just want to say it out loud. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who supported this project. Like, if you showed up to the truck, triple thank you, because the truck wouldn't have worked if people didn't show up to it. So thank you so much if you actually came to an event. But everyone's just been so supportive this whole year. Yeah. This kind of ties into, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we talk about our quarterly update. Yeah. But I've just been so grateful to everyone who's been so supportive of this project online and really friendly and positive about it. And it's just been a real hoot. And I always saw this as a seasonal summer project. Like, I'll drive it around, I'll do some events in the summer, and then I'll pack it away in the fall. And that, for me, was a big reason why I was willing to do this. Yeah. Because I do have so many different projects and things in my life going on that I was like, I can't, like, start a bookshop that I have to show up to every day for the whole year.
Yeah, that's not where you're at.
That's a different thing. No. And right now I'm at, like, do a couple events in the summer, park it, wait until next summer, and in those other quarters do other things. So I am actually doing one more event on December 1st at Propeller in Halifax. And I think I'm going to mark all my books down like 50%. Ooh. It's not a book truck event though. It's indoors and I can't bring my truck.
Oh, okay.
But it was someone who came to our event, Kydra. She was like, I'm doing this event. You can't actually bring the truck in, but if you wanted to sell your merch and your stock and stuff, we'd love to have you. And I was like, oh, this is a great idea. I can do like a blowout sale to try and sell as much of the stuff so it's not sitting in my back room for a month.
There's a lot still.
Yeah. So that will be my kind of final event, but it's not really an official book truck event.
Gotcha.
It's a Beset Books event though. All right. I have one more update, but did you have another thingy you wanted to say?
God, no.
Why am I talking
I have not
so much?
done anything.
Well, that's not true. You've recuperated.
Yes, I have been relaxing over the past like 2 days. Like, it's only been 2 days since my last event. So yeah, I'm ready to recuperate and get back to reading, actually. I guess that's one thing I can say. We're not doing a reading update in this episode, but I have read a few books like over the past few weeks that we've been kind of away, and I'm still diving in. I'm trying to read lots right now, and kind of trying to get into crafting a bit more too. And I will also say, I haven't done it yet, but I do want to get back into making music. I want to get back into my Shrek track.
Cool.
That's so cool. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but I feel like it could happen very soon.
That feels like a fall, wintry thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Amazing. All right. My final update is kind of a juicy one. I'll try not to go into too much detail, but it's so cool.
I haven't heard all the details yet, so I'm like, bring it on.
I went to the Jane Austen Festival in Bath. I had for a long time known that this was a festival, that this existed, that there was this ball you could go to where you dress up like an Austen time character and you go. I knew that was a thing. But it wasn't until last year that some of my friends went. Sana, who we've had on the podcast, Sana of Books and Quills, who has her own really cool dystopian podcast. We'll link to that down in the description. But she went last year, and she had the best time ever. And that, like, I saw all these photos, and suddenly it was like, one of my friends has gone. Now it felt like a real thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to go to that. And then I thought to myself, it's in September. I could treat that. This is going to be my 30th birthday trip. So this was kind of my like big gift to myself, was coordinating and organizing this big trip. And so I invited two of my best friends who we've both had on the podcast, Lena Norms and Claire Fenby. I had them, the three of us went to an Airbnb in Bath for the Jane Austen Festival. And this was one of the most special weekends of my life. I had the best time. Like, I look back on it, I'm like, this was a dream. This was a dream. Actually, to go back to your question from before, Eileen, have I noticed anything different about not wearing glasses? I touch my face more. I'm more dramatic. I didn't realize I wanted to do so much more drama with my face that I couldn't do
physical comedy now.
And a lot more physical comedies going on over here. Right, so we showed up on the Friday. I flew in on the Thursday night. The Friday is when we got to Bath, and we were there until Monday. So it was kind of like a very long weekend, 4-day weekend kind of a thing. And really, there was 2 main events for the Jane Austen Festival. There's a lot of other cool stuff going on throughout the week, like lectures, which I wish I could have gone to, and concerts and stuff like that. But they all sell out so quickly. I really think that the festival has grown a lot in the last few years, but the actual festival hasn't matched that growth incredibly well. And so I think they need to offer like the same lecture like 3 times throughout the week kind of a thing, because they just sell out so fast. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on that I didn't get to participate in. Even getting the tickets for this thing was insane.
Like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, genuinely. Like, I think they sold out in 6 minutes. And I was the one that had to get the tickets for me, Claire, and Lena. And if I didn't get them, none of us could go. It was so stressful. It was so stressful. And I did buy them, and it all worked out. But then, like, literally, like, as I refreshed, it said sold out. And I was like, if I hadn't have been here in this like the minute that they went up.
Yeah, you had to do that.
Oh, it was very incredibly stressful. But yeah, so there was 2 main events. So the first one was the promenade, which is a fancy word for a parade. And so this was really, really cool. This was like the big, Saturday was the big show, right? Okay. So Saturday, 11 a.m. Over 1,000 people.
Wow.
Dressed in Regency.
That's so cool.
Show up to the park that's around a museum. And we all were there and ready. And then when it actually started, we were led through a big parade route, basically like a walking tour of Bath. I absolutely did not expect. The streets were lined. I think that people go to Bath on that weekend to see us.
Yeah, it would be a great parade. Like, literally, that would be an interesting thing to see.
It would be a really cool thing to see. And I was like, objectively, like, if that was happening in Halifax, I would go. I would go and see that. Like, that's so cool. So we were over 1,000 people dressed in Regency. And so you got to, like, if you were standing to watch the parade, you get to see so many different outfits and like costumes and takes, and like, oh, that's a fancy lady, and that's a guy dressed in like fancy attire or dressed in military attire or whatever. It was so fun. But also, it was just a really cool opportunity to get to see Bath in a way I would never get to see Bath, because streets are not pedestrianized. And so I got to walk where the main thoroughfares are, where cars would be. And I got just a beautiful walking tour of Bath in my beautiful outfit. It was great.
That's lovely.
It was awesome. And then in the evening was the ball. The Netherfield Ball. Oh my God. First of all, it was so much fun to get ready for the ball with my friends. And it actually really felt like a Jane Austen movie where we were all running around like, can someone help me button up my dress? Okay, wait, my pins are falling out. Can someone put the pearl pins back in my hair? What are you wearing? Are you gonna do makeup? No, like questions like that. And like, just, we were playing a lot of music, like pop music, and it just felt kind of Marie Antoinette in that way, where it was, you know, the scene where she's getting ready and it's like period costume, but they're playing fun modern music. There's kind of that kind of vibe going on. So that was just really cute. It's always just cute to get ready for a night out with friends.
Totally.
But then this had the addition of, we're getting ready Regency style.
Yeah, something you just don't do ever.
No, it was so awesome. And then we walked over to the ball, and we also were meeting up with our other friends, Sana, Pip, Lucy, and Lex. So the 7 of us were there as a group, which was beautiful because, like, it's so fun to hang out with a big group at an event like that, where you have lots of people to talk to that you know. And then the ball began. And let me tell you, I was terrified about this ball situation because I am not good at choreography. My brain is good at many things. Choreography is not one of those things. Like, if you tell me like 5, 6, 7, 8, do this, down, over, up, around, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
I don't think I can.
My brain like just doesn't remember the steps in that right way, and I don't think I have like the best body-mind connection because I just feel like I'm flailing around. Yeah. Anyways, I was very nervous about it. It ended up being so much fun. There's two things that made it fun. One, there was an instructor there who led the entire ball. So she was like, all right, everyone, the next dance we're going to be doing is the dance of the feathers. And everyone's stand in groups of 4. Stand in groups of 4. Yes, everyone at the end there, groups of 4. You know what I mean? And like at that pace. And so it was very easy to follow and clearly designed for beginners. Yeah. So that was great. But then the other thing was dancing in the period is very unlike dancing now. Yeah. It's more just walking. It's more like a pattern. It's like, okay, now walk forward 2 steps, walk backward 2 steps, grab hold to the person next to you, arms up, people walk under you, hands down, now walk 2 steps to the... It's just walking around in an elaborate pattern. Yeah. And so you're not worried about your body. You're not really worried about looking a certain way or about doing something fancy or about being able to move your body. It's just really about like stepping over here and walking around and learning a pattern. And the patterns are so fun.
Oh, that's good.
It's like so much fun. And once you figure it out and you can, and like they start to speed the music up a little bit and then you start to do the pattern over and over. Oh, it's so satisfying.
I was going to say it probably like scratches an itch in your brain to be like, oh, this, like everyone's in sync.
Yes,
and
we're all in sync.
What's cool about it too is that like you're not like performing to an audience. You're like, everyone is dancing.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
It's a little bit of a different vibe.
Actually, you know what? That is a huge part of it. I never thought about that, but you're totally right. I think a lot of what I think about when I think about running, what I think about when I think about dancing is like you're performing and people are watching your body and they're like and a lot of dancing, I know that this is awkward, but a lot of dancing is like sexy, right? Where it's like you're trying to look cool. Yeah. Totally. Or you're trying to look attractive. And I'm like, I cannot do that. Like my body can't do that. You're right. This was not a show. Yeah. This was just everyone's doing it together. Everyone's doing it together. And very few people are sitting. And the people that are sitting are just because like they're tired right now, right? So like everyone is participating and you kind of lose that this isn't a show. So this is just we're doing it. That sounds fun. Had so much fun. It was such a memorable time. It was such a beautiful time. And like in large part because I was with my friends. Like I love those people all so much. And it was just, we had so many great memories, so many great moments. I loved my dress.
You looked so cute. You sent me photos and I was like, I didn't even know that you were going to this. And like somehow we just skipped over that. And so suddenly you send me these photos and I was like, what is happening? She looks so beautiful. Like, what is this?
Thank you. I really felt like I was in the movies. Like I felt like I was in, and that was another really cool part of the ball where I didn't even realize that like such a spell had been cast over all of us until I went to the bathroom. Partway through, I went to the washroom and I opened the door to the washroom and then I'm just like looking at a modern washroom and I was like, oh my God, I forgot that I live in 2024.
Damn.
And I like quickly went to the washroom, washed my hands, put my beautiful white gloves back on, and walked back into the ballroom. And I was like, oh, good, the spell is back.
That's nice.
Because I think it's really cool, actually, that they don't let people in unless you're dressed Regency.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Which obviously, it breaks the spell. It would totally break the spell.
Exactly. It's obviously a barrier to entry, but it works so well for the event. And
then everyone is committed to it, too. You know that everybody who's there with you is really with you.
Committed to the bit. Yeah. Totally. We're all doing it. We're all wearing the dresses. We're all wearing the shoes. We're all wearing our hair up. And we're all wearing less makeup than we usually do. And we're all a little self-conscious about it. But you're like, they didn't have eyeliner then.
Yeah, you can't wear eyeliner. That'd just be wrong.
Yeah. It was so much fun. And I also got some books. And so I thought I would haul those now because I don't know when else they're going to fit in our episodes, but I'll be quick about it. I was gifted some beautiful things from my beautiful friends. Aww. So Claire gave me 2 things. The first one is this gorgeous copy of Sense and Sensibility, which we always joke. We have a long-running joke that she's Marianne and I'm Eleanor. And so her giving me this book was really special. And I really loved this edition of it. So that was really lovely. And the other one was this specific edition of Lady Susan that I really have been coveting. And so when we were in bookshops, we were like, let's find it in a bookshop and grab it. So I got this and I'm very excited about that. And then Lena gave me this Jane Austen tarot deck.
Whoa.
I know, which is so cute. And it's like it's got like the actual playing cards, but then some of them are also tarot cards.
Oh, that's
so it's
cool.
kind of a combo deck.
Nice.
And this was fun. We played with this on one of the nights, which was really cute. I was also gifted a book from our beautiful friend Sana. She gave me Asa, the Girl Who Turned into a Pair of Chopsticks by Natsuko Imamura.
I'm so jealous.
I'm so sorry.
You showed me that book and I was like, Ariel, no.
I didn't realize I didn't realize that this was not out in Canada. Otherwise, I would have bought you a copy. Like, okay. I, for some reason, thought that it was out. But this is from the same writer who did The Woman in the Purple Skirt.
Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't really like that book, but I didn't hate it. I'm always down for a new one.
Yep.
This sounded really cool. And me and Sana had a fun moment talking about this book in a bookshop. And she was like, I want to buy you that for your birthday. I was like, woohoo!
I'll take it.
And then there were a couple of books that I bought myself. One of them is The Bookshop Woman by Nanako Hanada. This is Hanada. This is a Japanese memoir about a woman who runs a bookshop, who's kind of like down on her luck, starts working at a bookshop, and it really turns her life around. Awesome. I mean, that's
great stuff.
That's straight up our alley. So I've actually started reading this one, and I'm enjoying it so far. I also went to Persephone Books, which is a bookshop I've been wanting to go to for years. They moved. They used to be in London, but I didn't know about it when they were in London. Then they moved to Bath. And so I was like, we got to go while we're there. And they print these like out of print books in their own. They print them themselves. So I got this one, which is called The Sack of Bath by Adam Ferguson. And it's like an urbanist book about Bath and about what's going on in Bath and the buildings that have been torn down in Bath and stuff. And I don't know. I haven't read it, and so I don't know yet if it's like NIMBY or YIMBY. Like, I hope that it's not like, they've torn down all these buildings and screw them, and we should have left the city the way it is. Whereas I'm like, we need more housing. But on the other hand, it could be like, we need housing and we need to protect heritage buildings, and that's complicated, but there's a way to do both. You know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping it's that. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
But then the final book that I wanted to mention is this cool, it's so cool.
Oh, yeah.
I know, it's so beautiful. The Proposal by Bae Myung-hun. This is translated by Stella Kim from Korean. And it says the author is one of the most popular science fiction writers in South Korea. And I saw this book. First of all, I just thought it was beautiful. Secondly, it's like set in space. It's like it's sci-fi, but it's written in the form of letters. And I was like, I love letters. And I like sci-fi, I think. Maybe this is for me. Translated Korean. I'm going to go for it. Yeah. I was so excited. And I was also thinking, like, you and I read a lot of translated Asian fiction, Japanese and Korean more specifically. But I was like, but they're all like contemporary.
Yeah.
Or like, or contemporary magical realist a little bit. I was like, we haven't read like sci-fi or fantasy or even like really romance from that are translated. And I saw this one. I was like, I'm going to give a sci-fi one a shot.
And is it romance too? It's called The Proposal, so it must be a little bit romance.
Yeah. There's a romance, like these intimate love letters that are going back and forth. And so it seems really cool. And I do love coming back from England with a new, interesting translated
You always
book.
do. You always succeed at that.
I always pull one off. So that's my haul from England and my trip. I had such a special time. I loved it so much. And I would absolutely go back. Obviously, for my friends that live in England, it's a lot cheaper for them to go back. They're like, we want to go back every year. I was like, this was so expensive.
Maybe every other year.
But that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, every other year, every few years, it'd be really fun to go because it was just such a great time.
That's
and
awesome.
There you have it.
Thank you for sharing
that was my trip.
That's so nice.
Thanks for asking me. Now it is time for us to transition into our quarterly update.
Oh
my God.
My God.
What shall we reveal? So I had a lot of updates to give you guys this week just because so much has been going on. So I feel like I've been chatting a lot, but I feel like you wanted those updates, Raylene. So
I did. I know. I feel like you had a lot of juicy things happen and we've just not been able to get to them, and it's nice to be able to get to them.
But now it is time for us to transition over to our quarterly update. And Raylene, you will lead the charge on this. I do feel like you usually do because you've got like good spreadsheet updates and stuff.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about the spreadsheet, but I will pull my spreadsheet up. I do kind of have some. I kind of like looked at what I talked about the last time we did a quarterly update, and I kind of just like have updated those things to where I'm at now. But we can definitely take a look into the spreadsheet as well. But
lead us You tell us and we'll follow.
Okay.
You let us know.
Firstly, I want to start with our goals. I think we should talk about our specific goals that we set for ourselves, and let's tell each other where we are at with those. So I think maybe we can do a little back and forth action. I do have a lot, so maybe I'll do 2 for every one that you do. I set myself way too many goals this year. Okay, so one of my first goals was to read my TBR. So that was specifically to read books that I already own. Unfortunately, because I do buy books, I count those as my TBR, and so they end up getting folded into it. So it's kind of hard to track more specifically like the books that were already on my TBR. I guess I could figure that out, but I don't have that information for you today because I think I'm too scared to know what it is. So as of right now, I have read 39 books so far this year, and 29 of them are books that I owned and were on my TBR. So
29 out of 39.
Yes. That's 74%. Okay. So that's pretty good. So that means those 10 books that weren't from my TBR were either books I got from the library that I don't own, or I borrowed from you, or rereads. So some of them are rereads as well. I haven't really reread much this year. I reread Sheets. That's kind of like a random thing that I probably won't talk about anywhere else, but I reread Sheets a couple of weeks ago. So that's one of those books. So I feel pretty good about that. Cool. And that kind of ties into my next thing, which is my theme of the year, which is to follow my heart.
Okay.
Follow your heart is the phrase that I gave myself this year. And to me, that means not being influenced by other people so much, because what often happens to me is like I have this great vision in my head of like, I have all these books I'm so excited to read that I already own. I want to read those. And so that's kind of what follow your heart means, is not like, because oftentimes we have a podcast, obviously. You tell me about books all the time. And you're really good at convincing me to read books, which is great. But sometimes it deviates me from my goal of reading my own books that I already have, you know? And so that was one of my goals this year. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job. I have been influenced a couple of times. For a little spoiler alert for the next time we do a reading update, I did read 84 Charing Cross Road while I was on the plane to come see you. So I was influenced by you with that one. I also read The True Deceiver, which was influenced by Kat Dennings, so that's fine too. And we both read it and enjoyed it. Like, I'm happy by the things I was influenced by, so I feel like I kept it to a tight like selection. I only let the ones that like I really, really wanted to read influence me. So I feel like I'm glad I was influenced. I don't feel bad about it. The only thing I will also say with this is I do feel like my 24 and 24 TBR has restricted me a bit in my theme of following my heart. Because following my heart should
kind of counterintuitive
I know I have my goals this year make no sense, and I've already started like mapping out what next year is going to be, and it's going to be so much better.
Interesting.
Because I've given myself too many restrictions, weirdly. For follow your heart to be my phrase of the year, it makes no sense. So I did kind of mess with my own head there. So I'll talk about that in my next little spurt. But I want to know how you're doing on your goals. What's the goal like at the top of your list, I guess?
Well, I'll talk about the one I've achieved.
Okay.
Build and operate a bookmobile.
Oh, yeah.
Check the hell out of that one.
Yeah, you sure did.
And thank God. And let me tell you, that one really took so much more time and energy than I originally imagined. Yeah. And I think I've said this on the podcast before. I think I've also said it in a video before, but like, I'm always a little delusional about how much effort and time projects are going to take. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that. Because if I was like, oh no, this is going to take so long, I shouldn't even do it. Then I wouldn't do anything. Right. But because I'm like, I don't know, I bet you I can do that too.
Yeah,
I just try things, and then I end up following through it and finishing them. So building and operating a bookmobile has been a massive undertaking this year, but I have accomplished it.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
No
one can say I haven't. It's done.
That's
check
awesome.
Mark. Should I do another one?
If you've got more, I don't know how many you have. So
I have 4 goals this year.
Yeah, mine are kind of like, well, one of them I can fold into one. So why don't you do another one?
Do one more, which is I'll talk about read 3 biographies.
Oh, yeah.
I have read my first one, and as you know, I really enjoyed it. And I was waiting for the next one to come out on audiobook. By the one I wanted to read next was the Lucy Worsley Jane Austen one, and it didn't come out until September 26th. And so I was like, I'll start the Tove Jansson one before I start that one. I did start it, but then I just got really busy with like travel and stuff. by the time I like got back into really reading, the Lucy Worsley one has come out. And so I'm like 4 hours into it already, and I'm loving it. And I think I'll finish it this week. So I am on track to finish my second one, and I've already started my third one. So I'm feeling good about this. Oh my gosh.
Still. I really think that overall this year, you are going to beat me by a landslide for like completing goals. I feel like my goals are all going to fall apart.
Nah.
I haven't accomplished anything yet.
Not yet. It's all going to come together in the final act.
Well, that leads me into my next major goal, which was I made a specific TBR for myself, which, again, first big mistake of the year. And it's 24 books. I just loved the idea of everything being 4 or 24. And so I made this 24 and 24 TBR, which was 24 books off of my TBR that I was very excited to read and am still excited about what's left. But I'm about to reveal what is left because I am now down to the final 7. So what has happened here is I wouldn't say I've read 17, but I have conquered 17.
You have DNF'd so many of those
books. Have, and there have been 2 that I have just decided I don't want to read that anymore. Like oh my god, I know. Which and ones? I will talk about that at the end of the year. I will go through item by item and tell you everything. Nice. But right now I just wanted to let you know what is left. So what I have left on my 24 and 24 TBR is Breasts and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami. Cool. Very excited to read that. I have The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. Very excited to read that. The White Album by Joan Didion. Okay. Very excited to read that. I'm excited to read all of these, basically.
Yeah.
And then we've got The Wind Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. Huge mashed potato book.
That's a massive book.
Large book. Then we've got Eggshell Skull by Bree Lee, which...
Oh, yes, a pink one.
Yeah, it's pink. It's a memoir. I think it is possibly the most mashed potato book I have right now. Like, I have been saving it all year because I am convinced that it could be my favorite book of the year.
That's so
funny. And there's a lot of pressure, and I'm really scared about it. Like, this could be my next Know My Name. You know, like, that's the vibe I have from this book.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure on it, and that scares me. I've just been putting it off. It might be the last book I read this year. We'll see.
So funny.
And then the last 2 are The Talisman, which is by Stephen King and Peter Straub. Another big chunky one. A big problem that I've had with this TBR this year. I conquered all the short ones first, which was pretty silly. I mean, I did read A Dance with Dragons, to be fair. I did conquer one of, but I put a lot of big books on here, like as a challenge to myself, because I was like, you want to read less than 50 books this year, so reading bigger books makes sense. But now we're getting down to crunch time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Especially because the final book I have left is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy.
My God.
Which is a huge book, a dense book. A very old book, very huge. Translated, very Russian, very gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. But I feel like I have had like a few little bursts of like excitement for it because one of my good friends reread it earlier this year and she was like telling me about it and I was like, oh yeah, I am excited. And then our friend Max was like, oh yeah, the audiobook that's read by Maggie Gyllenhaal is so good, you should read that. And so now I'm like, oh yeah, I've got options. I've got ways to like make this easier on myself. But I am genuinely very excited for it. It's just like scary because it's so long. But my plan is to read it in December. That's going to be my December book. Okay. But that means I have to read all of these other books this month and next month in order to like be on track. So I'm a little worried that I'm not going to be able to complete the TBR, but I feel like I've done a good job so far. Like I feel like I've done what I can. And then I'll just tack onto that kind of a similar goal, which was to watch 24 A24 movies in 2024. And this one I had kind of accidentally put on the back burner. Like I watched, I think 4 during the summertime, like really close back to back to back. But then I didn't really watch any others. And so I kind of have fallen behind in the grand scheme of things. But I watched one a couple of days ago. So I was able to bump it up to 16 from 15. So that means I just have to watch 8, which is still a lot, but it's very doable.
That's totally doable.
It's very doable. And the nice thing is, like, I can rewatch movies. Because, like, I keep telling myself, like, it has to be a new one. But right now that it's spooky season, I want to watch the horror movies that A24 has, but I've pretty much seen all of them. And so I'm like, I'm just going to have to rewatch them. And I'm excited about that. So I feel like that one will easily be conquered, but I'm really scared about my 24 and 24 TBR.
That is a little scary. Because I feel like that was a big goal, one of the bigger goals.
It is.
That TBR.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see. But what about you? What do you got next?
Okay, I did want to mention another change in my life now that I don't wear glasses that just happened to be for the first time. I always keep my brightness pretty low on my computer while we're calling because I don't want the glare to be really bad on my glasses. I just jacked it up. You can't tell. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Woo! All right, so I should talk about my TBR. I have my 2024 TBR, Studious Potatoes. I kind of didn't count that as a goal. It is a goal, but it's not like one of the goals, whatever. Right. I haven't read any of them. There's 5. There's 5 of them. I've read none of them. And I'm basically like, I think I should probably give up on that. Yeah. So that I am not that worried about because I don't think it's going to happen. There were the books I was anticipating. I read all of those.
Wow. What were they again? I know you guys
Riddles of the Sphinx, Kamigawa Food Detectives, and Slow Dance.
Well, that's amazing. That's what I'm saying. I feel like you're like,
releases.
For the most part, you're doing what you said you were going to do, which is really cool. I had a few specific TBRs as well. Like that 24 and 24 TBR was the main one.
That was the
But I also had Fondant Potatoes, which was my 4 highest rated books on my TBR.
Yes!
Uncooked Potatoes, which was the 4 lowest rated books. 4 oldest TBR books, which I don't think I gave that a potato name. And then I think that was it. Those were the 3 that I was like, oh, these are like some specific things, like 4 off of each of those I could do. Those have completely fallen apart. Like I think I've read or DNF'd 1 from each or maybe 2. And the other ones I like maybe unhauled, like don't even want to read anymore kind of thing. Like I've just totally given up on those because I don't like TBRs. Like that was the main thing. It's not that I like anything wrong with the books. It was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do what I told myself I was going to do. So I kicked those ones out. So I'm with you there.
You gotta play that Bo Burnham song. I don't want to do this.
Exactly. That song is like my theme song for sure. Okay.
I do have 2 other goals.
Okay, I kind of have 3 more, so.
Okay, so maybe I'll do my 2 and then you finish us off with your last ones.
Let's do it.
So my other 2 main goals were 1, finish visiting every bookshop in Nova Scotia. I had this at 56%. I don't know where I got that number from. I have no idea where that number is pulled from. So I have not updated that. Now, I have a strategy. I have been thinking about this goal over the last few weeks. Yeah, we did. Basically, for most of the year, I have been focusing on 2 things. Reading as much as I possibly can and making the bookmobile happen. Yeah. The bookmobile has happened. Now I'm focusing on reading as many books as I possibly can and I'm now refocusing my bookshop energy or my bookmobile energy to visiting every bookshop energy.
Right.
And I was like, okay, most of my, I haven't really had a strategy for this, like a specific strategy to achieve this. I've basically just been adding it on. So I'm like, oh, I'm driving to Prince Edward Island. I'm going to pass this bookshop. I'll stop there.
Right.
Or, we're going to this family reunion up here. I could do a little bit of a detour and visit one of the bookshops I haven't been to. So I've basically just been like plucking them off at random if it's convenient to another trip.
Yeah, no plan.
This strategy cannot work. It will not work for the rest of the year. So what I'm going to do is basically try and knock the rest of the bookshops out in like 4 days. Not 4 days in a row, but like 4 days in random order. Where I'm like, I'm just going to do the northern shore. I'm going to do the eastern shore. I'm going to go up to Cape Breton. I'm going to do the western shore. I'm going to do the south shore. I'm going to just do a day where I hit 5 bookshops and then another day where I do 6 bookshops. Then another day where I do 3 bookshops. And that will accomplish it. This is the only way it can be accomplished. But I have visited some more bookshops that I haven't talked about on the podcast. So I was just kind of waiting for the right time. I don't know why. But I have visited some more, but I'll talk about those more, I think, at the end of the year or in a follow-up.
Yeah, there's too many bookstores for you to necessarily talk about every single one. But it'll be cool maybe at the end of the year to tell us your top 5 favorite ones and stuff like that. It'll be cool to see what you learned from this journey. What is the purpose for it,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my other goal. And then my final goal that I am at 48% achieved is to read 100 books. Now, let's just round that up to 50 to be kind. I'm halfway there, right?
Yeah.
Because also I'm in the middle of a bunch of things right now that I'm like about to finish.
Yeah.
And so once I finish these 3 graphic novels I just started, I will have crossed 50, right? Okay, so I'm halfway there. It took me 75% of the year to do 50% of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, if I keep up this pace, or if I like do the pace I'm supposed to, and I spend the last 25% of the year doing 25% of the goal, I will get to 100% of the year and have achieved 75% of the goal.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great.
Yeah.
Like, when we compare it to every other year of my reading, this is by far the year I've read the most.
Yeah.
It's astounding, actually. I haven't read this much ever. So this is in many ways great.
Yeah.
But it is not perfect victory.
No.
And quite frankly, I'm still going for it.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the haters are out there thinking she can't do it. You might be right. But we won't know until December probably 19th or something when we record the final episode.
Yeah. And I still think it'll be interesting to see like how much you can read if you really push yourself. And like you're a busy person. It's not like you just have all this time to read, you know? It's not like you're not trying. It's just
we're literally at the point where I'm going to England and you're like, why are you in England? I'm like, the Jane Austen Festival. You're like, I didn't know you were doing that. I'm like, oh, I got a lot on my plate right now.
Yeah, like she's a busy lady, okay?
I'm very busy.
I'm impressed that you've even read 48 so far. Like that's awesome. I'm really awesome.
Also very happy about it, but I'm still delusional. I'm like, I can still do it.
Of course you can. You have a lot of graphic novels, a lot of short books. Audiobooks are great. If you're going to be driving around to all these different bookstores, that's prime audiobook time. I think you can do it. I really do.
It's exciting.
You know what I don't think I can do? Read under 50 books. Let me talk about that for a second.
Okay, what's going on there?
Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of this, I've read 39 books.
Okay, yes.
You know what else I mentioned? I still have 7 books left to read on my 24 and 24 TBR.
Right, so that would get you to 40.
Let's just call it 40 because I'm currently reading a book that is not on that. Let's call it 40 because I'll be at 40 by the next time I talk to you.
Right.
So if you add those 7 books, that's 47.
So you can't read anything else.
I basically can't read anything else. And that means I have to focus on that TBR. And I already have another book planned that's not on the TBR. So that'll bring me up to 48. So if I keep to what I have currently on my plate and actually read those books, I'm at 48. So that gives me 2 books of wiggle room. 2 books.
Well, no, isn't that one book? Because you can't read 50. You have to read 49.
Oh, God, you're right.
You can't read 50 or you lose. You have to read less than 50.
I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose. Do you want to take a bet? Do you think I can limit myself to only reading 1 more bonus book other than the ones I already have lined up?
I love you. I don't think you're going to do that.
Because
I just know that you're so excited about so many cool books.
I know. Okay.
And I also don't think, and again, I don't want to
hurt my feelings, please.
I don't want to hurt your feelings here, but the goal of following your heart does not align with the goal of
That's why I think I'm gonna have to break one goal to accomplish the other. That's the
problem. They are
they're in direct conflict. But okay, I guess to kind of further talk about that goal and why I set the goal of reading under 50 books, it was partly to be provocative, to be fair. I thought it would be a crazy thing to say. And so I said it. Okay. But the main reason I wanted to do that is because I have like a weird psychological thing around reading, which I think I've talked about probably at length, but I feel like I should be reading as much as possible at all times. Like that is sort of in my mind the number one goal I have, because I own so many books. There's so many books I want to read that I don't already own. I want to just read everything. And the only way to do that is to be reading all the time. And this year I was like, dude, you need to calm down. Like reading is great. It's the best hobby. I love it. But it's not all there is to life.
Right.
And so
True.
My goal for this year was basically to get out there and experience life in a different way other than just reading. And so that was to try different hobbies, to, just do different things. And so that's the reason I'm doing it. So I feel like if I do go over 50 and I've still accomplished that other side of the coin, as it were, then I feel like I still won. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I have read less. I definitely have read less. I'm at 39 right now. Usually I read an average of 100 books in a year. So at this point, I probably would have been at 70, closer to 70 or something like that. So I feel like I am winning the goal. Even if I do go over, it'll only be by a couple of books. I'm not going to be reading 100 books. I feel like that would be really losing. You know, I don't want to 200% the goal. I just want to just like 110% it. But I feel like I am accomplished in that way. So like, we both quit Instagram, although I did go on Instagram once a couple weeks ago. I posted a photo because it was such a nice photo of me. But then I crawled back into my little hole.
Listen, I looked beautiful and everyone needed to know.
I don't know what to tell you. Share it. And so I did. Follow your heart. Listen. Follow your heart. I have sort of started working on music, as I mentioned. I haven't really done much, but I've noodled around with it a little, and it was really fun, and I'm still excited to get into it more. I've been doing yoga this whole year. I've been exercising, going for walks a lot. I've been knitting and crocheting a lot more than usual. I've been spending more meaningful time with the people I love. And so I feel like I'm doing it right.
Okay.
You know?
That's good.
So
the result, the point of the goal was to do X. And so if X is happening, even if the point Y didn't really happen.
And to be fair, every year we never accomplish all of our goals perfectly. That would be because we
we've
set
never
crazy
done that.
goals. We do set crazy goals.
We've never actually 100%ed it.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like through talking it out with you, I feel like a little bit of a weight has lifted off of this whole under 50 books thing. I'm going to say under 55. If I can keep it under 55.
Not allowed to change it. You're absolutely
you told
not
me
allowed
to follow my heart.
You're allowed to psychologically deal with the repercussions of the consequences, but you're not allowed to just change the goal.
Okay, fair. We'll see.
Because otherwise I would be like, I'm just going to read 75 books. That's still loads. It's like, no.
Okay, I'm going to fail the goal, but I'm going to be happy about it.
Exactly. That's good. I think that's progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I wanted to do was to read an average published year of under 2004, which is a goal I keep forgetting about.
Yeah.
I'm currently literally at 2004. So the thing I say, if I actually read the rest of the books on my 24 and 24 TBR, it'll be fine because there's a few classics on there. Anna Karenina came out in the 1800s, so it'll bring the average down enough to keep me good. If I deviate too much, if I get too excited about new releases, then it's not going to happen. But as of right now, we're skating the line. So I feel good about that one. I feel good about that one.
All right. So there's a little chaos going on in your goals situation. There's definitely more goals than I remember you having.
That's the thing. I really went overboard. I got so excited with the theme of 4 everywhere.
I do remember that.
I just went crazy. But
that's fun, though.
Next year is going to be a little bit more calm. But I'm excited to see what we can do in the next couple of months.
So am I. I am too.
I believe in us.
I believe in us as well. And I just think, the year isn't over till it's over.
Definitely.
Right? A lot can happen in the last part of a year. Yeah. And so I'm very excited for this, season of the pod and of our goals. Did you want to go over some stats? I mean, we've talked a lot, so let's do
it. I love stats. What stats do you want?
I don't know. I mean, what stats are you excited about? I'm looking at my stats here. One interesting one, I think, is that the format. So 63% of the books I've read this year have been physical.
Ooh, let me get that stat.
14% audio, 7% ebook, but this one's interesting. 14%, almost 15%, are multi. And that's me flipping from physical to ebook to audio to ebook to audio, like allowing myself to just be all over the place.
Yes, I do that too.
15% of my reading has been that way, which I think is pretty interesting, and I think is helping my goal because I'll listen to some of the audiobook in the car, and then at night I'll read the e-reader version, and then I'll travel, and so I'll do the e-reader version, but then I want the physical book. So I've been a little bit all over the place.
Mine is kind of similar.
Oh, okay, go on.
Yeah, so it's funny because what I decided to do last year and now this year is I don't make my pie charts until the end of the year. So I just created it and was like, oh, wow, interesting information. I'm at 56% physical, which is interesting that it's that small. I would consider usually it would be bigger than that. Audiobooks have been 14%. I've only read, let's see, how many is it? Doesn't say, but it was like 5 or something. And then I did multi as well. I have 2 different versions though. I have audio / ebook and physical / ebook. Apparently I haven't done physical and audio. And so that adds up to a total of 7%, so a bit smaller than yours, but 22% ebook. That's pretty big for me.
Yeah, that's more than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going through because I realized that I forgot to mark some of my seasons on here, but going through season, how do I make this chart refresh? Oh God in heaven. Basically, this fall has not been a good reading time yet, which is funny because I need it to be the best one.
I mean, it's just started, kind of.
Yeah, it has just, well, yeah, it has.
Forget about September.
I'm like, I feel like it is always with fall. You're like, is it September is fall or not? It's kind of hard to tell. It really depends on the year and how the weather is, you know? Winter, 29% of my reading. That was the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
Spring, 22% of my reading. Ooh. Summer, 40%. So far. Yeah. And then fall so far has been 8%. So I had a really productive summer, not a very good spring. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And now the fall is going to be the next few months. But then at the end of the year, it will be winter again. So winter will get some more added on to it.
Yeah, that's the tricksy thing. Winter was only 2 months so far.
Yeah. So that's really fun. And I agree with that. Because I remember that I didn't have the greatest reading spring, but that summer was really productive.
Yeah, I find for some reason spring seems to be my best reading season is what I'm seeing right now. So spring, I'm at 31%. Summer is 24%. So that's the next best one. And then autumn, although I have entered like the book I'm currently reading and the book I'm planning on reading next. I've already entered because I'm going to start reading it later today. So those, like, I haven't finished them yet, but I think by the end of this, autumn might be my top one. But winter is at 19.5. So like you said, once we get into December, winter could climb back up. Although if I only read Anna Karenina, then that's only one book. You know what I mean? So
that is.
I've also been keeping track of page count this year. So we'll have that data at the end of the year. That'll be interesting.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I actually want to go back at the end of the year. I want to go back through the last year and this year and compare page count, because I've seen some murmurings. I think it was on Discord or something where people were like, well, if she just reads a lot of short books, I don't know if that really counts. And I'm like, guys, I always only read short books. like I read short books last year and the year before that and the year before that. True. If this year I read more short books, it's still me reading more because I always read short books.
100%.
One that I have here is Country, which is interesting because a couple of years ago we both had this goal of like reading less American authors.
I don't want to look
purely
at this one.
Because we realized so much of our reading was coming from the US and we were like, we're not even American.
Yeah.
We're Canadian. And so first of all, it'd be nice if like the Canadian part of that was a little bit closer to the US, but also what about everywhere else? Like if you're only getting a perspective from one place, it can be a little samey. So we were like, we want to reach out. Anyways, I didn't do that goal last year or this year to like, I don't really care anymore. I'm like, my goal was basically like, if I can get this under 50, maybe that could become more of a pattern.
Right.
And it has, which is really interesting because this year I have truly never thought about what country the author's from.
Yeah.
Same. I'm like, I don't care about that right now. I've got other goals that I'm focused on. And yet, the Americans only make up 36%.
Whoa.
I've got Australia, Canada, Finland, Ireland, France, Japan, England, and a couple of ones that are so small that I can't see them on my chart. What is that one? Oh, Scotland, Austria. Who the hell is the Austrian? Where did Austria come from? Who is this? Oh, Metamorphosis.
Oh, okay. I know it'll make sense. I know it'll make sense when we hear it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it's been all over the place, which I think is great.
That is great.
It's just cool that I am gravitating towards such a diverse placement of the books.
Yeah. See, this is probably why I didn't want to make the chart, because I knew I would see this and be like, whoa, I've read too many American books. And I was right. So
how many?
So I'm sitting at 68% American. But you know what part of it is that's the TBR I set for myself.
Was very American?
A lot of American authors.
Okay.
Which,
that's fair.
So just naturally, it was kind of built into what my reading was going to look like naturally. If I was truly following my heart, it might have been different. I have been craving like translated fiction recently, but I'm like, oh, I only have 2 books left on my TBR that are translated, and they're both so long.
Yeah.
Or I guess I have 3, but yeah. So I have the biggest chunk is America, and then weirdly the second biggest chunk is England at 9.8%, which is fun. And then all of pretty much the rest of mine are all just like one-off. So I've got like Japan, Korea, Canada, and they didn't tell me what the rest of these are. I can't see what they are, but they're all just like 2.4%. So I think I've just read 1 or 2 books from each of those.
That's interesting.
So it's, not my most diverse country-wise this year, but that wasn't really my goal, so it's okay. I'll do better next year when I'm actually following my heart.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
I'm realizing I haven't rated all these books yet. What was that? I give that a 4, and what do I give that one? Oh, that one gets a 5 from me, actually. And
Ooh,
then
which
what
book?
about
Which
that
book?
one? The Loneliness of a Long-Distance Cartoonist by Adrienne Tomine. I love that one.
That's awesome.
That one, I'm going to give that one a 4. Okay, so now I want to create my chart. I see that some of my charts haven't updated themselves, so I'm like having to create new charts.
Oh, I know.
That really know why.
Bothers me. That's another reason I like to just make them all at the end, because then I know the data is pure.
Wait,
crisp.
This is... Uh-oh. It's doing something weird, you guys. Okay, this chart is nonsense. It's like charting every single one as its own thing. I'm not sure.
Did you do actual numbers in your...
Yeah, I think I have to write stars.
You have to write the word.
That's
I learned that a few years ago, and I hate it. I think I remember. It's annoying.
Yeah. Do you have your rating information?
Yeah, so mine are interesting. Okay. I don't have any books that I've rated 1 star, but like historically I don't rate that many books 1 star. Oh, no, wait. I would totally give that Nicola Yoon book 1 star. I think I put it in as 2, but I changed my mind. I need to change that to 1. So that would be the only one, because mostly I just DNF books. If I'm really not enjoying them, I just won't finish them. But I've got 10% at a rating of 2 stars. I've got 23% at a rating of 3. Then we've got 15% at 3.5. Weirdly, that 0.5 is the one that I use the most. I don't have any other 0.5s.
That's funny. Okay.
That one just makes sense to me. That's a 7 out of 10. You know, it's a different vibe from a 6.
Yeah.
And then I've got 31% at 4 stars and 18% at 5. So
so it's pretty spread out.
Yeah, it's quite even. 4 is usually my biggest one, because I read a lot of books where I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed that, but it didn't quite get to the 5-star level. And so I usually have a large chunk of 4s, but I feel like having 18% at 5 is pretty impressive for me, because I'm quite picky with what I give 5 stars. So that means I read some good stuff. I'm excited to talk about it at the end of the year, so I can go through all of like what were the top books of the year. That's so fun.
That is so
That's what
fun.
we keep secret in these quarterly updates.
Yes. I'm almost done copying and pasting the word stars into every rating. A lot of them I was able to like copy and paste 3 stars into a lot. That's going to be for sure the biggest part of this chunk here. 5 stars and 4 stars. Okay. Let's see. But if this chart doesn't work, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. Insert chart. It worked. Thank God. Okay. In my lowest category, for 2 stars, 4%, 4.2%. Very few books.
That's good.
Is that, 2 books? Is that 1 book or something? It's like very few books. And then the next one is 5 stars, which is 20.8%. Awesome. Then 4 stars, 29%. And then 3 stars is 46%.
Whoa. Okay, that's surprising.
That really lines up with what's going on for me. Like, I feel like every book I've read this year, I'm like, about.
Yeah.
Which I hate.
Yeah, that's so
I'd rather hate the book.
Yeah.
Than just being like,
it'd be nice to feel something, you know?
yeah, exactly. So I'm feeling pretty meh about most of my reading, and that this chart really does show that, but damn. Interesting.
That is interesting.
And that chart is now deleted. All right. Well, I feel like that's all kind of I have to share here.
I agree. I like to save most of the juicy data for the end of the year.
That's fun, though. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us for this big, juicy ep. We had a lot to catch you up on, and now you know where we're at and what we're aligned on for this final quarter of the year.
Yes.
There's a lot to do, but I think we can do it.
Oh, yeah.
We are now going to go record our Patreon mini podcast that comes out every week. This week, which one is it, Raylene?
I think it's the Movie Tub this week. Yeah.
All
it's
right.
Movie Tub.
So
yeah.
Yeah, that's where we review the movies and things, shows, maybe video games that we've been playing lately and watching lately. And I got to go see a play in Halifax that my brother, CJ, who edits the pod, he bought me tickets to go see A Midsummer Night's Dream at the theater in Halifax, at the Neptune. So I'm going to talk about that and also some horror movies. So that'll be a good time. If you want to support the Patreon, it's the main way to support the podcast. And yeah, you can check it out. It's linked down below. Patreon.com/Books Unbound podcast. And we'll be over there. Thanks so much for hanging out, and we'll talk to you next week.